Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
So they took their complaint there. The US, France, and England, and Germany, apparently, if they were in the council at that time, they said, no, we will not condemn the Israeli regime. So the UN Security Council refrained from condemning the regime that carried out an airstrike on a diplomatic facility, killing 12 or 13, I'm not quite sure, I don't remember right now, but 12 or 13 people. So that strengthened Iran's hand and Iran's argument to strike at Israel, because Iran was saying, look, the UN Security Council is supporting the bombing of the Iranian embassy. Basically, that's what Western countries were doing. They refused to allow the Israeli regime to even be condemned. So Iran told its neighbor, Iraq, that we're going to fire missiles and drones at Israel. And it also informed the Jordanians. And if you recall, the Iranian acting foreign minister, the foreign minister at that time, he contacted the different governments in the Persian Gulf region and beyond, informing them that Iran is going to attack. So it would be very difficult for anyone to really make this a big issue because of what the Israeli regime did. Even though the Jordanians supported the Israelis and they were part of the coalition to stop the Iranian missiles and drones, but still it made it more difficult for them. It strengthened Iran's case in the eyes of the public in the region and beyond, and in the eyes of many governments. Now, even when Iran fired the drones and missiles, it had to inform the Iraqi government because you have civilian aircraft flying over the country. So it's not as if Iran could just fire away. And also, some people say, well, why did the Iranians announce that they were firing the drones? The drones would be on their way it would take 5 or 6 hours to get to Palestine. And therefore, the Israelis would find out very soon that those drones have been launched. The Americans have spy satellites and intelligence gathering means across the region. And so if Iran launched the drones and missiles quietly, the Israelis would have been informed by the Americans very rapidly. So the Iranians thought it would be an opportunity to spread fear in Palestine among these colonizers, these settlers who are doing what they're doing to the Palestinians. So they announced it so that they would have this a number of hours of waiting before the drones got there. Now, one may say that, okay, well, all this aside, maybe the Iranians should have hit harder. But there is a lot of things were going on in the region and beyond. Iran did not want the focus to be taken away from Gaza, A. B, Iran did not want its friends and allies across the world to feel that maybe Iran is using this as an opportunity to bring about a regional war. The Chinese are concerned, the Iranian neighbors are concerned, countries across the global south don't want to see a global economic meltdown. Because if there is a regional war, then that's what's going to happen. If the Americans get involved, let's say, and strike Iran, then all those countries that host American bases in the Persian Gulf region, they will be hostile. All those oil and gas installations, they'll be gone. In Iraq, the Americans will be overrun. That will mean basically that the global economy will collapse. It will collapse in a way that it has never collapsed before. Not even the 1929 stock market meltdown and the subsequent depression would be anything like this. This would be much more severe. Iran doesn't want the world to blame Iran for it. It wants to make sure that the Israeli regime is seen as responsible.
This is a world crisis that's brewing, and it has everything to do with the U.S. debt. I don't know if you've heard, but it's reached, are you ready for this number? Because it's an outstanding number. $34 trillion. $34 trillion. That's the U.S. debt. Look at what just happened, by the way, in the Japanese stock market.
Some developing news this morning, and all eyes will be on Wall Street this morning. Here's the deal. Japan's stock market is taking a hard fall right now, experiencing its worst day slump in nearly 40 years, dropping by nearly 12%.
But let me tell you about how we got to this point, all right? The U.S. debt has been compounding due to the fact that we spend way more than we take in. Simple, right? So how do we make up the difference? We borrow money by giving people essentially bonds. And that is why there is a real concern that this U.S. debt bubble is about to burst. And when it does, it's going to have a huge global implication. Why? Because if we can't pay down our debt, the countries who've lent us this money by buying these bonds will also go under. And we're talking about a lot of money and a lot of countries. And most of the money, by the way, and this is interesting, most of the money comes from our top allies around the world. So now think in terms of, the position of the different countries in the world. Who are these top allies, right? I mean, think about this. Our borrowing here in the United States now stands at 130% of our GDP. Imagine if you ran your household budget that way. Within 20 years, it's expected to be 250% of our GDP. Imagine owing 250% of what you have. You'd be broke or going broke. Now, why is that global threat? Right? What's the rest of the world have to do with the U.S. not being able to perhaps pay its bills or being in debt? Well, who do you think we owe most of that money to that we may at some point here, maybe even soon, not be able to pay back? Our allies, who have bought $7.6 trillion of our debt. $7.6 trillion of our debt. Let me show you what we're talking about here. The one we owe the most to. Oh, what a coincidence. Japan, $1 trillion. Now you know why their stock market is crashing in part. The UK, they own $716 billion of our debt. Luxembourg accounts for $371 billion. Canada, who catches our cold when we sneeze, they own $321 billion of our debt. See, they all thought the U.S. was a good investment, but now they're having second thoughts. And they're all crucial allies, by the way. Look at Japan. Japan is the U.S. proxy in Asia. The UK, Canada, that's NATO, right? So get me back on camera if you can, Vic. How did the U.S. get into this predicament, right? Short answer. Defense spending for endless wars that we did not win, which we may now have to rethink. I pulled together I looked for this and found it for you because I wanted to share this with you. I pulled the 2023 numbers are out, the defense numbers, right? Let me show them to you. Last year, the U.S. spent $916 billion on national defense. That's almost $1 trillion on defense. That is more than the next 9 countries combined. That is about 1/6 of the federal budget, and it accounts for 40% of all global military spending. Interest alone that we're going to be paying as a result of that, which I just shared with you, by just paying down the debt on that alone, it's going to be about $6.5 trillion in 2050. $6.5 trillion in interest payments. If you're a U.S. taxpayer, which I am, by the way, this is my pocket that they're reaching into right here. I mean, that's coming out of
Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles in Great Millstone. And Barakatham to all you brothers as I teaching this truth with faith and sincerity throughout the 4 corners of the earth. And as you just seen, as you just seen from the videos, this place, America, is a ticking time bomb, as far as their economy goes. And a literal ticking time bomb as far as the scriptures, foretell. And hopefully this war over there between Israel and Iran. Hopefully it kicks off and it's as as every bit as advertised as it's supposed to be, you know. Hopefully it turns into that regional war. Hopefully when it does displace America and the world and all their economic trading, you know, stocks, hopefully it falls. Hopefully it crashes, you know. Because at the end of the day, we all know, you know, what the elites plan to do, and that's to crash the economy and then implement, you know, their CHIP worldwide, man. And and this seems like the perfect, you know, setup to do so, you know. So let's go ahead and jump into the scriptures. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 9. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, okay? And when thou seest part of the sign pass, which I have told thee before, okay? So we know what time we in, man. It's getting real serious out here, man. You know, the prophecies are constantly popping off, you know. And this is verse 2. Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, okay? And Yahushua is beginning to, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is beginning to visit this place by way of death, man. You know, people suffering different judgments, earthquakes, you know, different diseases are spreading, you know. And therefore, verse 3, therefore, Slacky, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. And, you know, I think China just had a major earthquake, and they said they're preparing for a different one. I mean, not China, but Japan, okay? And then you got the UK. They're in uproars, you know, and Beirut. Not Beirut, but Bangladesh, okay? Uproars. And it's only a matter of time before it comes to America, you know? And when the economy crashes, it's going to be here, man. It's going to be here, man. Okay? And let's go get, this is 2nd Esdras, chapter 16 and verse 18, okay? For the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Okay? Because this is what's about to happen. It's about to be war, pestilence, famine. It's about to be all of the above, man. And what are you going to do when all these things happen, man? If you're not a part of the hopefully elect, you know, either you're going to die by way of one of those judgments, or if you're part of the elect, you're going to be saved out of it, okay? Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for the amendment, okay? So this is for all you wicked motherfuckers, you wicked 2/3 Jakes, okay? Esau, and the rest of you heathen, you know? This is what's about to come on earth, you know? This is verse 20. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness. So you seeing all these things happening, and you still out there, you know, eating pork. You got motherfuckers that's still coming up against, you know, Great Millstone and the ones that teach, you know, the likewise doctrine, you know. You not turning away from your wickedness. You heard this word and you continue to, you know, continue to live in your folly, man. You continue to fucking be in the world, embrace the world. instead of repenting once you heard this truth. And now you got to suffer for it, you know? And that's pretty much all I want to go into, you know, on this lesson. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash, Shalom. I hope that the lesson was edifying.